The morning was already alive when Ella turned the corner onto the market street. Sunlight streamed between the buildings in long golden beams, catching the rising steam from food carts and warming the mosaic tiles beneath her feet. The scent hit her first, a whirlwind of spices, grilled meat, herbs and ripe fruit, carried by the breeze in waves that changed with every step she took. The local market was the kind of place that couldn't be captured in photographs. It was too alive, too textured. Sounds collided and layered. The call of vendors, the clatter of pans, laughter, the click of a weighing scale, a dog barking in the distance, the murmur of bargains struck or missed. She moved slowly, eyes wide. It wasn't just a place to shop. It was a place to be. On one side of the street, a woman flipped scallion pancakes on a hot griddle, her hands moving in a practiced rhythm. The edges of the pancakes curled and crisped, sending up curls of scent that made Ella's stomach flutter with hunger. On the other, a boy no older than 12 arranged mangoes into a perfect pyramid while humming to himself. She stopped at a stall where an older man sliced jackfruit with a machete, his fingers sticky with resin, his voice gentle as he told a curious customer how to eat it. Next to him, bundles of lemongrass leaned against a crate of green papaya. Dried chilies hung in bunches overhead like decorations from a festival. Ella bought a handful of rambutans, their red hairy skins like tiny stars. The vendor handed them to her in a paper cone and smiled with gold-capped teeth. Further in, the crowd thickened. Women in patterned shawls bartered over fabric. A man in a straw hat roasted peanuts in a spinning metal drum, filling the air with a scent that stopped time. A little girl with bare feet offered fresh basil from a basket, her hands stained green from the stems. Ella wandered deeper. She paused by a table filled with jars, honey, pickles, chili paste, preserved lemons, unknown things swimming in oil. The woman behind the table offered a spoonful of something thick and dark. Ella tasted it. Sweet, smoky, a little heat. She bought a jar without asking what it was. In the open square at the center of the market, a band of musicians played. A violin, a clay drum, a flute made of bamboo. Their music wove itself around the chatter and sizzle, lifting the morning into something timeless. She found a bench near the food carts and sat with a bowl of rice noodles covered in grilled pork, crushed peanuts, lime and herbs. The taste exploded in her mouth, savory, sweet, tart, spicy. She closed her eyes. This, she wrote later in her notebook, is not just food. It is geography and family and memory and invention, all on a single spoon. A few vendors called to her in the local dialect. She didn't understand, but she smiled, and they smiled back. Connection didn't always need translation. By noon, the heat pressed down like a slow hand. Umbrellas bloomed across the square. Ice melted in plastic cups of tea. Children napped in hammocks slung between trees or beneath their mothers' stalls. A rooster wandered freely, inspecting crumbs. A dog dozed under a cart. Ella bought a woven basket from a quiet woman with long gray hair. It smelled of bamboo and riverbanks. She filled it with turmeric root, limes, ginger, and a bunch of morning glory so fresh it still held drops of dew. In the afternoon, the market began to soften. The crowd thinned. The music quieted. The vendors leaned back on stools. Some read newspapers. Others talked in low voices. A man repaired a sandal with a needle and thick thread. A woman shelling peas glanced at Ella and nodded once, slowly, as if to say, "You're one of us now." Ella sat again. She sipped coconut water from a plastic bag and watched the shadows shift. She wrote, "A market is not a place. It is a language. Of hands. Of flavors. Of eye contact. It tells stories without needing pages." When she finally stood to leave, the basket on her arm was full, but her heart was fuller still. She walked slowly, memorizing every sound, every scent, every corner. And as she turned back for one last look, she realized that markets like this didn't sell things. They shared them. And everything she had touched that day, fruit, food, fabric, faces, had given something back. She walked home through the quiet alleys, the scent of grilled lemongrass still clinging to her sleeve, already dreaming of returning next week. And in her notebook, before bed, she wrote one final line. Some days you don't need a map. Just follow the smell of garlic and the sound of music. That's where the stories live.